Hey guys, what's up? It's Finch here. We're back with another video. This time around, we're going to be discussing the OU Viability Rankings thread, which just got updated for the first time in the post-DLC metagame. So, big shout out to my boys, EO, Jordy, Lopney Kick, Swappa, Tala, TDK, TPP, and X-Ray for all chipping in and helping with these rankings. And a special shout out to Jordy, who went through all of this. Normally, it's my job to update the viability rankings, but he took some initiative here because I had a lot of stuff going on over the weekend, and he's just an amazing help. So huge shout out to Jordy and all the contributions he does. But anyway, while I'm talking of shout outs, thank you guys so much for all the support. We recently hit 4,000 subscribers, guys, and we're already pushing towards 5,000. So if you guys are one of the people that watch my channel often and you guys could, maybe subscribe, that'd mean the world to me. And maybe like the videos too. But if you can't, I completely understand as well. Do what you gotta do. But I'm definitely out here, we're on the grind trying to help improve the channel. So let's keep that up. And in doing that, we're gonna be discussing the viability rankings this video. So yeah, now I'm going to go through them all top to bottom, but I'm actually going to go down to Jordy's post. The thread was locked. See, initially, I made a prior video on this. There was a viability list of 3 tiers of great Pokemon, good Pokemon, and Pokemon that are just viable. So Pokemon you can use, but they're not very good. Now, we're able to do a fully fledged ranking. So as you see in the OP I just go through, or in Jordy's little hypetext here, it goes all the way down from S rank, which is the best of the best Pokemon. And keep in mind, this is in alphabetical order, so saying Cinderace is better than Magearna isn't what this is saying. It's saying that they're all in the same rough tier viability. Now, within this tier, I'd say Magearna is probably the best Pokemon, but at the same time, all 4 the best 4 in the metagame. So these are your 1, 2, 3, 4, no matter how you cut it, basically. With that said, though, there's a lot of explanations. Some of them that I wrote up, some that Jordy wrote up that we're actually going to go through. So, yeah, below I'll make an effort to explain the reasoning behind some more significant reasons. So we're actually going to go through all of these significant reasons behind why these Pokemon are where they are. And then after that, we're going to proceed to just go down the whole list and maybe point out some other Pokemon that are worth noting as well. So the Pokemon that Jordy and I highlighted, well, Jordy in particular highlighted, are Cinderace, Magearna, Urshifu, which makes sense. They're kind of the big 3 right now offensively, Zeraora, Blissey, Slowbro, Volcarona, Alakazam, Amoonguss, Corviknight, Rillaboom, Skarmory, Tangrowth, and Sunteam. So that's all worth noting. As for Cinderace, users, upon the release of Larora, Cinderace has become one of the best Pokemon metagame. There's access moves like Gunk Shots and Headbutt, coverage-wise, and utility moves like U-Turn, Sucker Punch, and even Core Change as well. So yeah, it has amazing speed and attack, which complements it really well. And access to heavy-duty boots makes it so effective in pivoting in and out repeatedly, so all of that combined makes it a major threat. You have checks like Mandibuzz, which is defensive sets of Paladon, Slowbro, but after you turn into, all of a sudden you're into a kill range, and that's honestly really easy to provoke if you're able to keep up momentum with an offensive team, especially if you pair it with the right momentum generating support. So yeah, I think that's a really cool thing. I think Cinderace is probably one of the more broken Pokemon in metagame, perhaps the second most broken Pokemon behind Magearna, if not the most broken Pokemon, and that's just really worth noting. Magearna, it really needs no introduction. It has the spec set, which just nukes the tier in half. There's no true counters to it. Things can check it, like Amoonguss or Rotom Heat or Chansey/Blissey, but they're not going to be able to handle it in the long term, especially with the addition of Trick. But yeah, Flare Cannon, Flash Cannon, Volt Switch, and potentially even Aura Sphere just makes it so much. And if that's not enough, you try going to your Amoonguss and you encounter a sub-combined set, then that alone is far more than enough to be able to really take things out. So yeah, Magearna is just ridiculous in the metagame right now, and it's no shock that it's going to be worthy of the S rank. Urshifu, its impact in the metagame has been very significant. It has a very short list of answers, a lot of them even being cores. For example, you go to your Tox Specs or Amoonguss, and then you see if they go for Wicked Blow, then you can go out to your Dark Resist and regen off the damage, or if they come in on close combat or another attack, then you're in a clear. But then people started using a bulk up set to circumvent that, and because of that, it's sort of kept in check, but it's also still a very threatening Pokemon. So we don't believe it's good enough to be an S rank given that and some especially defensive shortcomings, but we still believe it's one of the better Pokemon, probably top 5 to 10 in the metagame. So because of that, it's definitely worthy of the A+ ranking. Moving downward, Zeraora is weird because right when DLC came out, it took a huge hit because things like Hippowdon, Tangrowth, Amoonguss, they all walled it pretty nicely. But then people were like, yo, Volt Switch is really great, and not only can we use it on Zeraora to try and pivot out of those grasses, but on top of that, we can also use the ability to negate opposing Volt Switches with Volt Absorb, so we can come in on Specs Magearna's Volt Switch or Discharge from Ronin Heat and absorb that, and that makes it a really clutch form of speed control, especially because it's able to counter things like Togekiss. So all things considered, Zeraora has just become a really clutch Pokemon in some situations, and it's definitely worth using on a lot of teams as well. Moving beyond that, there's also Blissey, which is kind of overcome Chansey. I guess that's worth noting. I mentioned it in a couple videos before, but basically with heavy-duty boots equipped, it's able to come in, pivot out, in and out with teleport a lot, and not take hazard damage. It honestly outclasses Blissey, and even if it takes a knock, it's not suddenly going to be a lot frailer. It just loses boots. Whereas if Chansey takes a knock, which is very common on things like the Fable, Toxapex, etc., Mandibuzz even, and then all of a sudden it loses so much bulk, and that's going to be a big problem. So Blissey is suddenly outclassing Chansey, and it's honestly an A-rank threat just because of all of the new tools, being Teleport and heavy-duty boots that go for it very well, and a very knock-heavy metagame. So Chansey is a bit harder to use. On top of that, speaking of another beneficiary of Teleport, we have Slowbro. Slowbro is a godsend with Teleport plus Regenerator. It's bulky water that once lived almost entirely under the kind of shell of Toxapex, if you will, but now with the option to be a pivot and also have Scald plus Future Sight with that pivoting abilities, it makes it a lot less passive and a lot more proactive in a sense. That makes it partner really nicely with things like Urshifu and Cinderace, especially when using the Future Sight set. Because of that, the Teleport Slowbro sets are just really cool. And I mean, Volcarona, it's self-explanatory. You click Quiver Dance and then win the game. I don't really want to dedicate too much of the video to it, but if you want more on Volcarona, then let me know in the comments below and maybe I'll do a live with it. But yeah, I mean, obviously it benefits from heavy-duty boots. But yeah, it's just Quiver Dance Sweeper. It's really good, so there's been A-ranks. Next handful of Pokemon are all solid as well. Alakazam got Nasty Plot, which, you know, it's really great. So I guess you're like, oh, well, Alakazam was finally going to be like a UU-ish Pokemon, because, you know, it gets boned by Pursuit, it doesn't have the Mega Evolution anymore, but then wait, it doesn't get Pursuit anymore, and then wait, it also gets Nasty Plot, and now all of a sudden it's a premier Pokemon in OU. I mean, it's more like an A- or A-type Pokemon than it is like an S-tier Pokemon, because Focus Blast is lame, and you can get Revenge killed by, say, Sucker Punch Cinderace, or U-turn Dragapult, or Zeraora. On top of that, things like Special Defensive Magearna, and Special Defensive Corviknight, Special Defensive Mandibuzz can all wall you, but it still does really well. Magikarp's an amazing ability, and if you're not facing a knockoff Toxapex, you can kind of feast all over that. So yeah. Beyond that, there's also Moongus, which is just a great answer to Flare Cannon, plus resisting Volt Switch, which is really helpful. On top of that, it's good against Zeraora, and it can be able to pivot into Urshifu's close combat, or take a Wicked Blow and then pivot on out. So a lot of practical stuff, coupled with the fact that it can use Spore, makes it a really intriguing option in the metagame right now. I don't like it as much as Toxapex, obviously, but there's definitely some teams that weren't using it as well. Moving forward, though, Corviknight, unfortunately, has actually seen a drop in viability due to the fact that Mandibuzz is just more common, as it's able to resist Wicked Blow, it's able to resist Ghost types, and on top of all of that, it has access to moves like Knockoff and Foul Play, which are really practical right now in some scenarios, as well as Toxic, which is great for things like Cinderace, Hippowdon, Volcarona, Rodent, Zeraora, etc. So yeah, a lot of things going for Mandibuzz that unfortunately make it more common than Corviknight. But Corviknight is still great. It's able to shut down things like Excadrill, which it did prior. However, it does face some competition in this regard with Skarmory. So now you really only see U-turn on Corviknight a ton, and you kind of see its usage split. So yeah, it's definitely still a very viable Pokemon, but it's definitely had its viability overall compromised from before, when it was like clearly like an S or A+ tier Pokemon. So yeah. Next up, we have Rillaboom. Rillaboom's obviously a great addition to the tier. With Grassy Glide and Grassy Train, it's absolutely menacing to offensive teams, and with the combination of U-turn and knockoff, it can pose a major threat to defensive teams, at least chipping them for other Pokemon or entry hazards to knock off your boots on, say, Mandibuzz, for example, and just go off in a late game. So yeah, Rillaboom's great. You see Choice Band far and away more often than other sets. However, the Swords Dance sets are viable as well. I kind of just think it's like one of those like other like sort of A- tier Pokemon, sort of similar to Alakazam. It definitely has its shortcomings, such as the fact that it's walled by Moongus and Corviknight and Mandibuzz, and even Slugos with Magearna and Rotom Heat. However, it's still very threatening offensively and has access to some cool sets and moves, so that all coupled with Grassy Train makes it overall a very viable Pokemon. Beyond that, we have Skarmory. Skarmory is a great option in the metagame right now due to the fact that it has access to Spikes, which pretty much can only be said for that and Ferrothorn, but it also, for the defensive teams, Body Press, Toxic, Roost, Whirlwind, etc. It definitely has faced strong competition with Mandibuzz and also Corviknight on top of that. However, it is worth noting that, again, it has more physical bulk than all of them, and while it is susceptible more to special attackers, it definitely can specialize in the physical role on bulkier teams and do that while getting up spikes or being a prime defogger against things like Como-O, lacking Taunt or Iron Defense, Hippowdon, and opposing Ferrothorn potentially, although if they're Leech Seed, they could eventually wear you out. But yeah, Skarmory definitely holds a nice niche in the tier. It belongs in the middle of the B ranks, I'd say. Beyond that, there's also Tangrowth, which is back, another great grass type. Unfortunately, unlike a Moongus, it doesn't resist fire types or have the ability to soak up Toxic Spikes. Because of that, it has fallen off a little bit, but I'd still say there's a lot of teams that it's worth using on. And finally, last but not least, Sun teams are great. They deserve to be in the B+ rank. I mean, basically Torkoal and Venusaur up there. They're really threatening right now, and it's kind of a polarizing metagame. Things like Charizard and, of course, Cinderace being enabled by Sun is amazing as well. All things considered, it's just a really strong playstyle, and because of that, despite it being historically a very niche playstyle, it's now moving up in the rankings. So now let's go through the whole rankings in the original post, the LP. So as you see, the big four, we discussed them pretty much all besides Talk Specs is and Clefable. We only discussed Cinderace and Magearna. Okay, well, Cinderace, Clefable, Magearna, and Toxic are basically the best four Pokemon, no matter how you cut it, I'd say. You could argue for Mandibuzz or Excadrill, I'd say, but definitely not anything else. And even then, they'd still all be within the top 5 or 6. So, yeah. We discussed how amazing Cinderace is, especially the U-turn set, and how versatile yet strong and powerful the Specs Magearna set can be, especially when you're also preparing for other sets. But Clefable kind of takes a different role, while Wishport Clefable is still phenomenal in the metagame right now. I'd say that Stealth Rock sets and knockoff sets and even physical defensive or combine sets are good as well. So it's kind of seeing a bit more of a versatile place in the metagame, but no one set is super dominant, which I'd say is helpful right now. But again, it's not like as polarizing as it once was. It definitely doesn't see the same usage in the prior metagame. It's not standalone the best Pokemon. No, it's more like number 3 through 5-ish area. And Talk Specs is as good as ever. So many things struggle to break through it. It could come in. It's just super splashable, and it's really easy to take advantage of opposing offensive cores with it while forcing status and knockoffs with it as well, due to the fact that there's no Mega Stones or Z Crystals. So, yeah. Beyond that, I mean, yeah, there's nothing really to discuss about these Pokemon. Mandibuzz has been a great Pokemon, but now it's even better due to some practical defensive measures. Dragapult is just doing the same thing it's always done. Excadrill now runs Toxic a lot more, with Stealth Rock or Rapid Spin only using one of them. Just hit things like Mandibuzz and Powdon Slowbro, but that aside, it's still great. And Zeraora, as we mentioned before, has experienced a bit of a change in viability. It now runs Volt Switch a ton, and it's a great Volt Switch immunity as well, so that is cool. Urshifu we discussed before, but yeah, it's just a really strong option. Getting to A rank, we already discussed Blissey and Slowbro, but just to go into a bit more detail on Hydreigon, it now runs Roost on the Nasty Plot sets a lot more, and Hippowdon and Ferrothorn just serve as Premier Hazard and Hazard setters as well. Rotom Heath does the same thing as before as well. All of these Pokemon are definitely going to retain long-term viability within the context of the metagame, and they are all superb options. Going down, yeah, we see Alakazam, Amoonguss, Corviknight, Como, Rillaboom. Como is kind of just hanging in there. It's definitely seen better days, but it's still a decent option. Alakazam and Amoonguss and Corviknight. We have discussed everything else in A- rank. Damn, A- rank is kind of small, not going to lie. I actually kind of like how we allocated this. This looks really nice. So big shout out to Jordy. But anyway, beyond that, in and B+ rank, we have Gengar, Pokemon that tends to run the Nasty Plot 3 attack set more and more often, but you know, there are other viable sets as well. Kyurem, which can still be a decent choice specs user, but with the rise of Blissey, it's a bit harder to use, especially due to the Stealth Rock vulnerability. Next up, we have Rio Nicholas, which, you know, can be a potentially good win condition. It saw a couple uses in World Cup, but honestly, I'm a bit lower on it just because of Shifu, Trick Magearna, etc. just kind of all destroyed it. Then we have Tangrowth and the Sun Duo, so yeah, they don't need an introduction. We already went over that before. And then in the lower ranks, I'm just going to list this. We got Azumarill, which can use Belladrum sets. Chansey, which is kind of like a shadow of its previous self due to Blissey Classic, but still can be used as a Stealth Rock setter. Gastrodon, which Volt Switch immunity, plus it has the ability to negate tricks with Sticky Hold, but it's kind of outclassed by things like Toxic and Slowbro defensively. Kingdra, which can be used on rain teams, as you see. Pelipper is also in B rank. Magnezone, which is kind of a tracker, but also Specs Analytic is really threatening. I definitely would try that out if Magearna ever gets banned. Mantine, convenient defogger that also checks Volcarona. Marowak Alola, which shot up really high at the start of the metagame and now is just kind of a subpar option. It just, you needed to do too much defensively and offensively at the same time, and for Pokemon weak to Stealth Rock, that is simply impossible, especially given how slow and frail it is. Quagsire is unaware Pokemon. Rhyperior is a great Stealth Rock setter, very underrated. It's good against things like Togekiss, the next Pokemon, as well as Rotom Heat and Zeraora. And Togekiss, the next Pokemon, it's just good with Nasty Plot sets. It definitely can really threaten some teams. B- rank, we're getting more niche Pokemon. We're not even going to cover the C ranks. I'll let you look at the C ranks real quick. Yeah, you see C+ here, C and C- is there. Yeah, I mean, nothing like overly shocking, I guess. If you have any questions about how viable these Pokemon are, let me know in the comments below. But I think going over every single one of them in detail would mean this would be a 30-minute video, 40-minute video, and I want this to be more of a 20-minute video, so yeah. But anyway, B- rank. Aegislash has fallen off a ton, and it sucks. It even dropped to UU via usage, but it's still a really solid option. It does great against some cores. The thing is that especially defensive Toxapex, Mandibuzz, etc., they just all kind of shrug it off, so it's really not, it's seen better days, one could say. Bisharp, it's still good on hyper offense, but that aside is pretty useless. It's good at taking advantage of defogs, but Mandibuzz running foul play, you know, Skarmory being around, it makes it struggle, especially with Hippowdon being present as ever. Charizard, it's Sun Team, it's good on Sun Teams, it's not a staple on Sun Teams, but it is really good. Conkeldurr, unfortunately, sees competition with the Shifu and the fact that it's slow, but it still is pretty decent in the metagame. It's going to be a strong hitter. Same goes for Crawdaunt. Again, if there's nowhere Shifu, it probably sees more usage, but it's still nice on balance and rain teams. It's a kind of a breaker. Diggersby, something that US West likes to use a lot. I don't really have many comments on it. I haven't used it, but it's very potent offensively. Next, we have Ditto, just Choice Scarf user. Grimsnell for screens. Hatterene for magic bounce and bulky annoying com mindsets. Hawlucha saw a bit of a rise in usage on the electric or psychic terrain teams, but ultimately those kind of fell off. And now it's only really good with Rillaboom. And it's still decent there, especially on hyper offense, but all things considered, it's not superb. Then we have Heracross, which is kind of similar to Conkeldurr, except you trade off some, power plus the ability to run Drain Punch for some speed, lack of priority, ability to potentially run spikes, and just, the bug type to resist things like ground. Jirachi is just kind of mediocre. It struggles with a lot of top tier Pokemon, unfortunately. It can wall Magearna, but aside from that, it gets taken advantage of by literally everything. Like, it loses to everything besides Magearna and Clefable there, basically. Keldeo, it's cool with Flip Turn, but again, it's nothing special. Pex just kind of suffocates it. Then we have Mew, which is kind of in the middle of no man's land. It can do a lot of things, but it's not superb at any of them. The main thing you'll see it for is setting up entry hazards on hyper offensive teams. We have Rotom Wash, Scizor, Terrakion, and Drandicard because we're basically finishing the B- rank out with Black, White, OU staples. Rotom Wash is a decent pivot, but again, it's nothing special. Even without Size Method, Rotom Heat outclasses it. Scizor is just really subpar right now. It doesn't really do much besides maybe wall a few Pokemon, and even then, it's just not strong and it's not bulky enough without the Mega Evolution. Terrakion is really threatening offensively, but in the Power Down Regenerator metagame, it's going to struggle to see light of day. And last but not least, Tyranitar. Let's take a couple seconds of silence for our fallen hero. Alright, it's a good choice bender, but it's not really superb in the metagame. But yeah, so these are the first official SSOU viability rankings for the post-DLC metagame. Let me know your thoughts. What do you think is ranked too high? What do you think is ranked too low? What do you think should be ranked that isn't ranked? Or what do you think is ranked that shouldn't be ranked? And on top of that, let me know, if you're still watching at this point, let me know your favorite Pokemon to use in SSU and your least favorite Pokemon to use in SSU. I've kind of cycled out the commenter questions before, but I feel like it's a good way for community engagement. I love talking to you guys. I love what gets brought up in the comment section, so be sure to let me know in the comments below. And on top of that, if you enjoyed these videos, be sure to hit the like button because that'll reinforce that to me. If you guys want more videos like this, and if you guys enjoy what I put on my channel, throw me a subscription. It'd mean the world to me. So yeah, have a great day, guys. These are my thoughts on the SSOU post DLC viability rankings. Let me know your thoughts below. All right, have a great day. Peace.